everyone. Today on the Quilt Show, we're going to ride off that traditional cliff with our guest, Kathy Doughty, all the way from Australia. She's a pretty big wheel. With your co-hosts on the Quilt Show, Alex Anderson and Ricky Timms.
Welcome to the Quilt Show, everyone. Alex, it's a great day when we've got a guest from out of our country. Today, it's from down under.
I can't wait because I've never been down under.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we got to get you down under.
Yeah.
Hey, audience, how are you doing today? Are you excited to be here?
It's a full house.
It is a full house today here at the Quilt Show. Well, Alex, I know on the top of the show, you're going to share with us some finished applique techniques, and I want to give a shout out to my UK friends and say applique, because I know that word. But applique, sometimes, first of all, there's so many ways to do it.
That's what we're going to go through.
And that's your goal today. So let's start.
So this is a little quilt that I made that was so much fun. It had stars and it had, what do you call that? Jacob's ladder?
Or Irish chain.
Irish chain, yeah. But it needed more. And so many times with my quilts, I will piece something and then add, how do you say that? The
applique.
Applique to it. So I added hollies and berries and out here Christmas lights. And honestly, I think it's what makes it.
Right, and it is a wonderful holiday quilt.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's small, it's doable, it's easy. So you could do it raw edge applique, but that's not what we're going to be concentrating on. Okay?
There's lots of ways to do turned edge.
Oh, yeah. So back in the good old days, before you were born a quilter, I tried to learn needle turn. It was a disaster, an absolute disaster. So what I did here was I cut out the holly, and I did it larger than what's on the quilt just for sake of camera. And you would go and you would trace around with, say, a chalk pencil or something like that, and then you would take it to your background fabric and then literally turn it with your needle.
Grab a piece of...
I'm not going to demo this.
No, it's okay. But you can at least fold the edge over. Because we have, for example, I'll just say like Suzanne Marshall, who, if you go search for her show, does needle turn spectacular.
And right? I think this is really important. If you know how to needle turn, go get a cup of coffee. That's for those of us who don't know how. And believe me, we're in the majority. You are in the minority.
Right.
So that was the way I learned. That was the way I tried to learn. Then, back before you were born as a quilter, they would take us and have us cut it out with typing paper.
Right.
Not printer paper.
Yeah, because we didn't have printer paper back then.
And,
You know that's true.
This is true. And then you would literally baste down the outside edge all the way around.
Show those basting stitches if you can.
Every single circle, every single leaf.
Right. So there was a lot of work just to get prepped.
To do your finished applique. But, you know,
it's beautiful.
It's
it
beautiful, but it's a lot of work. A lot of work. So you have
And if it suits you, keep doing it.
Yay for you, right? So this is another product, and it's called Cutaway. It's by Quilter Select. It's actually geared for T-shirt quilts to line on the back of your
really
T-shirts.
delicate.
Very delicate. They're shiny on one side. Let's see if the camera can catch it. And dull on the other side. I learned this from R&K Distributing. Kay kept going, I'm doing finished applique, and she was using this. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it's kind of slick, okay? So on the shiny side of this, you put down your template. I marked it with a felt tip pen. You could use, your Frixion or whatever. And then I sewed around the edge.
Okay, now I'm a little lost for 2 seconds here. Is the cutaway on the fabric when you're doing this? Because I see I see fabrics there.
No,
so you put the cutaway.
You see one fabric.
Yeah, but when you drew it, did you draw it simply on this?
I don't care.
Oh.
So, okay.
Well, we do. Did you draw it on this and then put it on the fabric, or did you don't remember?
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter. You could do it first.
You could do it either way.
Or you could layer them and then draw it.
Yes.
That's what I needed to know. Okay. I got to learn this stuff.
So then the other thing you're going to do is where there's points, you're going to just trim it off, just like when you have a corner, okay? And then if you have a large indentation, you might want to trim, but you don't. So you're going to pull this away. Pull this away, Ricky Timms, okay?
I know where you're headed, and yes, pull that away.
Pull that away. And then you take a cut like this, shiny side up, remember. Then you can turn it inside out, and you can use a lot of things.
Wow, it's really sturdy.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
That's why it's so good on t-shirt quilts, too. So you turn it inside out. This is a great little tool. I mean, I could use my Alex Anderson 4-in-1 tool to help do the corners. Of course, I'm all 10 thumbs here, right?
Well, that's just the way it is when you're on TV.
Or this is another real cool little tool that R&K Distributing sells, and that helps poke out the corners. You don't want to use scissors or something like that because you'll poke a hole through it.
Yeah, you want to be delicate with this whole situation here. But I do see that you have to really trim those angles or you don't get a sharp point.
You're not going to get that. And then when you get it exactly how you want it, then you can press it down, and because now the shiny's on the inside, it will stick. So here it is finished.
So it's a kind of a fused type thing. So it stays put.
And I would do it on simpler shapes, honestly.
Can we see the front side of this?
Sure, it's beautiful.
Wow.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Wow, very crisp. That's lovely.
But again, for simple shapes.
Okay, yeah, not complex, crazy shapes.
Right.
Easy stuff.
Right. So
like
then,
your light bulbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Except not really. Okay,
You can tell that we've practiced this segment over and over
Except
and
not
over.
Really. Okay, so then the next thing I did after the basting was I did the good old-fashioned spray starch way, all right? And what you would do is you take 2 layers of freezer paper and you iron them together like this.
So they're stuck.
Yeah, but you have flat on top, shiny on the bottom, flat on top, shiny on the bottom. So you've got 2 layers, but in the end you have flat on top, shiny on the bottom.
Makes it more stable.
Makes it more stable. And then you take your spray starch.
So you cut out your shape.
You should cut out your shape, thank you, out of the freezer paper. And you just take your little paintbrush with your starch and go like this, or makeup wand. I don't know if you have extras of those hanging around your house.
I don't have any extra makeup wands at my house. I'm a little short on that. I'll have to give you a call.
Be nice to me. So then what you do is using a stiletto, you fold it over, and then you take your little wand iron, except I'm doing it wrong because I'm a left-hander.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I put the wand iron in my left hand because I'm a left-hander, and you work your way around with your stiletto pulling it. Okay, now, this works really well, but I will tell you that when I did my applique book, I ended up with tendinitis because I was finding myself pushing down too hard.
Well, and that's a tendency. I mean, when you're doing that sort of, even though the iron would do it with less pressure, it was your natural behavior
You just press,
to push.
yeah. And see that little funny
little
thing
bump.
right there?
Yeah.
If that's what it is, that's what it is, and that's what's going to show. So you want to get it perfect.
So you'd fix it.
I would fix it.
Okay.
Okay? So let me get this guy out of the way.
So we're really going through a lot of different ways, and even though, I mean, seriously, even all back to needle turn, if that's what suits you and that's what you like.
I wouldn't change.
That's what we do. We're just trying to show all these wonderful ways and find one of these that really suits your fancy.
So the next thing I want to show you is what I've landed on for myself.
Okay.
And it was from Rosa, from her show that she did. And it was
Rosa Rojas.
Rosa Rojas. And what you do is this is a fibrous paper. It's not a paper, it's a fiber. And you leave it in the product. You leave it in your leaf. And 50% of it washes away.
Right, well, let me rewind for 2 seconds because for this one with the freezer
you gotta
paper,
take it out.
after you've stitched it down, you have to make a slit in the back and pull that paper out.
Or you can pull it out.
You can pull it out before you stitch it down.
And stitch it down.
Okay.
Thanks for that's a good catch. Okay. So this paper, Print and Piece Fuse Light, one side is shiny and one side is dull. When you cut out these little pieces, it's hard to tell. So what I'll do is before I cut out my little bits, that's what you say, I will take my Frixion pin and go like this so I know this is the dull side. And for those of you that don't know what a Frixion pin is, it's fantastic because you iron it and it goes away.
We'll do that again.
Woo, like magic. Right. So here I've got this. I'm going to put it on this guy here. I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to iron it down. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Now you're going to want to use a glue stick that is quick drying and meant for fabric. all right?
And the colored ones work really well because, well, go ahead and show.
Well, I like the one that's yellow best,
Right.
okay? You have the Charisma from Japan, it's yellow, and then this is Quilter's Select, and it's yellow. Now, this has good news and bad news. It dries really fast, okay?
Okay.
So me sitting
Is
here...
that the bad news or the good news?
Both. So me sitting here yapping with it open is kind of stupid, all right?
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll only do part of it. I will put this back on, okay, because it will dry out. And then I'm using Rosa's beautiful tools. This one is like a little snake mouth.
Well, I say
tongue.
Rosa and Olga because
And
they,
Olga, right,
Olga,
right.
It's called applique.
And we have a whole show with them too.
Yes.
So anyways, and then this one, it has a little beveled edge on it. So this holds it down. Look at the glue's drying already.
Yeah, probably.
And you bring it over, and then how you do a point, like I've got going on here, is I'm going to come in first, and then I'm going to do a little more glue. And this is a soft point too. Here, you be my capper.
Okay.
Thanks.
Got a job.
Yeah. And then this goes up here like this. You kind of miter the points. And of course, I'm doing a horrible job right now. Now, these also have pointy little other sides, and you can really get in there and do your thing too. Pull that
But
out.
the stabilization of the product that's in there is what's keeping it. Do you remember the name of the product? Sorry, I forgot.
Print and Piece Fuse and
Print
Light.
and Piece Fuse and
Okay, so I would go all the way around, and then I've got a beautiful finished leaf, and then I don't even bother taking it out because 50% will wash away.
Okay.
All right, now I want to do one more thing here. Let's take a look at the light bulbs. This is actually, I've pieced, what's this, what
Oh, let's
that?
call it the socket.
The socket and the bulb. I've pieced it together before I cut out my shape,
Right.
all right? So here is my little template again, and I know I have this line here. Oh, and I put an X on it because you're never gonna find it on your table. Never,
Yeah, this just
never,
goes hiding.
Never.
Goes hiding.
And I've used my Print and Piece Fuse Light, and so you can see that goes there. And so I would do it on the back side like that. But I want to talk about pressing the seams open because that's how I would do this in this
Okay.
case.
All right.
So here I have cut 2 strips, all right? And this is a really cool new tool. It's called Woolly.
It's from Woolly Felted Wonders Company, and it's a pressing bar.
Yeah, I just got mine.
So if you haven't seen it on the market yet, because it's brand new.
Oh, it's brand new. And they make these pressing mats too. Okay, so anyways, you go along here, you open it up with your finger, and then, yay,
Voila.
there your seam is perfectly
I will say that pressing seams open is a pain in the kazooka for me sometimes.
right.
This is going to help a lot.
Right, right. And before I go to my machine and tell you how I sew so it looks invisible, I want to talk quickly about circles. I like doing circles with the glue stick and Rosa's tools. And the trick is to, as you're turning it, don't press all the way to the edge, just press on the line, and then when you like your beautiful edge, then go ahead and press it down.
Right.
But Karen K. Buckley has these wonderful rings, and what you do is you make it like a shower cap. Here's your ring, and then I baste it all around the edge. Then you just give it a little pull, throw your spray starch on it, and iron it, and then you pull out the ring, and there you go.
Right, and I'm just going to say quickly, because I know you're going over to the machine.
Yeah.
If you want more information on the applique, go watch Rosa's show. If you want more about Karen K. Buckley's,
Right.
we've got a show with her as well. This is an overview of a million ways to do
A million ways to
applique.
do it, and I
Yeah.
would spray starch this and then take the ring out.
Perfect.
Okay, now let's go over to the machine. I no longer do hand applique. There is no reason for it because you can get the results from your machine, okay? So I work on a Bernina, and the main thing you want to do is adjust your stitches so that you get this blind look, okay? First, I want to address thread. I am using, this is an 80 weight thread. It's like
Very fine.
Very fine. It's a polyester, and you're going to want to match the color to your applique. And so this is a great thing to have. You can put it on the machine. It's great for hand too.
Yeah, you're saying put a bobbin, it's already pre-wound, as a spool of thread.
Right, and I am not going to do that here.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the blanket stitch on the Bernina, and I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to push it all the way to the right-hand side with my needle mover, and then I'm going to make it so small, the bite, I'm going to make it like a 0.09. Okay. Just so it barely bites into the fabric.
Barely,
and you might have to start with a little bit bigger. Sure. And then I'm going to lengthen the stitch to about a 3.0. And then what I'm going to do, I'm used to not having my knee lift here. I'm going to take another stitch that is just another stitch. I'm going to make it super small, like a 0.5.
Straight stitch.
Straight stitch, and move it all the way to the side. And that's how I'm going to start, and just do little bites. Then I'm going to go over to the blanket stitch that I have. See, that's too big of a bite.
So we just knurl the bite a little bit, right?
More.
Okay.
Oh,
right there.
Ooh, that's 0.07.
And you know what? It's so tiny, you're not even going to be able to see that.
You're not going to be able to see it.
But take that out and show how invisible that is.
Right.
Because that really is.
And the thing
and
is,
once it gets quilted, it's totally gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. So here is the little itty bitty stitch. See, you can't see it. Can't see it. Right in there. Absolutely beautiful. Why do it by hand?
Woohoo, everybody.
Right?
Woohoo. Okay.
Now, do you guys like this quilt? Do you like the pattern? Okay, you can get a free pattern at quilterselect.com, which is this quilt, all right? So go check it out.
That's right, and you can get the pattern too at home if you just go to Quilter Select, right?
And quilterselect.com, look for the free patterns.
All right, that was so much fun. A lot of different ways to do applique. But coming up next, we've got Kathy Doughty. She's all the way from Australia visiting with us today, and she is going to show you how she uses pattern fabrics, and she takes traditional designs and she makes them modern and fun. It's going to be great. Don't go anywhere. I'm glad we don't practice
There is a place that I want to go to, a time I just want to be with you. We crossed the ocean till we found it. I feel it's taking me over and it never ends. You tell me over and over again, this love will shine on eternity. I feel it's taking me over and it never ends.
Bernina, made to create.
Welcome back to the Quilt Show, everyone. Alex, I get so excited because we have really an international appeal of the Quilt Show all over the world, and I get excited when we've got international guests on the show as well.
You know, and it's not easy because we all have to make sure that we're coordinated with the person's going to be here and all that. But before we introduce her, let's talk about her quilts.
Absolutely. I mean, I just love the fact that Kathy uses these fabrics with intuition. She has an eclectic taste. We're going to learn all about that. Please welcome to the Quilt Show, Kathy Doughty.
Welcome, Kathy.
Welcome, all the way from down under Australia.
I mean, Ricky, we really have been trying a long time to get her. And so we're so grateful that you're in the States. How long are you here for right now?
I've got a 5-week tour.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. And that's grueling. I know that it is. You'll be glad to get home, but we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Lucky us.
Yes, it's a lot of fun doing this. Yeah.
So let's talk about your quilts for a moment. Let's just let everybody take a peek at the first one to kind of start getting an idea of the work that you do, okay?
Well, the first quilt that we're going to look at is called Soul Searching, and I always bring this on my tours, and I always start all my classes out using this quilt because it was a really strong learning experience for me. I was preparing to do something with the study of color, so I pulled all these different pieces out of my quilt, and or out of my stash, and as I was doing it, I realized that I was starting to get a picture of what I collected as a quilter. And then I also started to realize that I was noticing what I didn't collect. And I thought, well, because I'm a shop owner, this is a great lesson to share with my customers and the people in my classes so they can become more astute shoppers and really understand what they need to buy rather than adding to their stash of what they already have.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. You are a shop owner in Sydney, Australia.
Sydney,
Tell us a little bit about the shop and how that even happened.
Well, the shop came about sort of by accident because I didn't have any retail experience and I wasn't a very experienced quilter either, but I really wanted to do something in the industry. So we opened the shop in 2003 with a view to reflect in the fabrics that we collected and in the things that we taught to simplify it and make it really approachable and easy for people to walk in and say, oh, this is something that I can do and have some fun with. So, yeah, we were looking for colorful prints, graphic prints, spot stripes, things like that. And then it just started to snowball as my customers taught me things, the teachers that we hired in the shop taught me things, and then I got a lot more experience and started to spread my wings trying other
That's
techniques
great.
as well.
Now, the audience is scratching their head because they're going, okay, she's from Australia, but she doesn't sound like she's from Australia, right? I'm going to save that story for a moment. I'm going to tease that as we look at the next quilt. Tell us about this one.
Vintage Spin is a quilt that I made using a Dresden plate or a wedge ruler, and I really like this quilt because the idea for pulling all the fabric was really about making the fabrics look old. So when you look at it, you don't really get, it's not a color story, it's not a collection story, it's just all the fabrics that I had in my stash that look good together and made me think these are old fabrics. So yeah, I like, it's got different value variations, and but it's still held together.
Well, it's so full of texture. I just love the textures.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, I love them all. Check your suitcases when you go home.
Yeah, I don't need them missing for the next lecture.
Yeah, no, this is the one I want. I love this quilt. Tell us about it.
Well, that quilt is called Lovebirds, and like all of my quilts, they're reacting to the situation in the shop and what people are doing and what's on the shelves. And that one was really using spots and a K-facet marquee stripe, and playing around with organic style applique, which is I was just creating images of things that I had in my head and not following a pattern and not being too particular about where those things needed to be placed on the block. So it's a really easy introduction to applique and also using wedges in another fun sort of graphic style.
So how long had you been quilting before you opened the quilt shop?
Almost 10 years, but the first 8 years when I was quilting, I really didn't know any quilters. Somebody gave me a quilt when I had my second son, and I thought, oh, this looks fun. I'll try to learn how to do it. And so I went to the library, and I learned from books.
So let's rewind now. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Illinois, but we lived, a typical American family. We moved around. I think we figured out that we lived in about 8 or 9 houses before I was 18.
Wow.
So that's a lot. But now you're in Australia, so there's a story. How did that journey happen?
Well, I went to college in West Virginia, then moved to New York City, and after working in fashion and advertising, I ended up working at Swatch Watch USA when it was a startup company.
Wow.
So there were 5 or 6 people in the office, and we were looking to take a traditional product, add color, lifestyle, fun, music, and we were very successful in that. It was one of the biggest selling products in the 1980s. So that taught me how to look at things with a slightly skewed perspective, especially something traditional. And through that, I started doing sponsorships and special events. And I met my husband nearby in Breckenridge, Colorado, at a snowboarding World Cup.
And he happens to live where?
Well, he lived in Sydney. And I knew, like, the minute I met him, I was in big trouble.
Oh, there you go.
So that's a big life change.
Yeah, it was a huge life change.
You met your husband in skiing, and off to Australia you go.
Swatch was a sponsor.
Yeah, I managed the sponsorship. So
nice.
they, all the athletes would come to the top of the mountain. Yeah.
And you could just check him out.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. We've got 2 more quilts to look at. I love the graphic impact of this next one.
It's solids, though, and that's not like you, is it?
Well, no, I don't generally tend to use solids. I prefer print and the action that you can get mixing and combining prints together. And this was really simplifying the idea of doing a string quilt. I used, again, another K stripe and instead of piecing lots of strips together. So it was quite a simple way to translate a traditional quilt.
Good trick.
Right, and I just really love on that quilt how that the stripes are not predictably dissected, I should say, because they're kind of in different places all over. And I think that just shows the spontaneity that you can can create.
Well, and what's interesting about that is, again, from my customers, I learned a lot of people are afraid of stripes. So I think, well, what can I do with stripes that makes it look super easy and effective? And so that's letting the fabric do half of the work instead of spending hours and hours and hours, because let's face it, we're all really busy. We need to be able to get to the nut of the matter very quickly. So that was in response to really shortening the process. And then the quarter square triangles just sort of suited. So that was a good use of solids.
Sure. And okay, and the final quilt we're going to look at?
The final quilt is Colorworks. And again, from my customers, I learned that people are afraid of using big scale polychromatic prints. So I wanted to do something that was showcasing those prints, but also making them look a little bit more sophisticated. You know, one of the things that I noticed is when we first started Material Obsession, there were a lot of, most of the fabrics that we were using were more traditional or more cream-based. So when we moved into a color world, people were quite hesitant, and they used to literally say to me, this shop will never last, no one's ever going to want these fabrics. But I stuck to my guns and kept using them. And I guess Colorworks is the result of working with polychromatics and super color, but also making it really sophisticated.
Can you explain polychromatic, please?
Well, prints with lots of colors. So if you look at it, and that's actually a great question. When you look at it, you think, well, is this blue or green or yellow or red? Because there's lots of colors in it. But if you just glance at it, you'll get an idea of where that color will sit.
Well, let's briefly talk. You do lines of fabric.
I do.
With Free Spirit. And this quilt that's on the table is using those fabrics. And that's something that you've enjoyed, and that is spun out of being a shop owner working with your clientele,
Exactly.
right?
I mean, if anybody had ever asked me if I would end up designing fabric, I would have to say no, because I'm not a designer by trade, and so I generally refer to myself as an accidental designer. But with the fabric, I really wanted to produce fabrics that I wanted to use myself, and thinking about the structure of quilt, a medallion, a border, a sashing, and then bring in my own aesthetic and color.
But I have to believe that where you are now is also connected to those roots of swatch. That's back in the day.
That's what I was
Audience, what do you think about these quilts? Yes, absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I love them. Well, I love your story. I think it's fantastic. And when we come back, Kathy's going to twist up one of our favorite traditional blocks, the Dresden plate. Stick around.
16 colors, 16 needles. High-speed embroidery creating at up to 1,400 stitches per minute. An extra-large embroidery field, 400 by 350 millimeters. Patented narrow cylindrical lower arm, the smallest in the industry. The Bernina hook system. A fabric-based tension system. A library of 1,000 designs. Automatic thread trim. Adjustable presser foot height. The new Bernina E16. High-speed embroidery with true commercial quality. From the intuitive user interface and the smallest cylindrical embroidery arm in the industry to an impressive array of optional accessories, the E16 is the perfect partner for home, studio, or commercial projects. Applique command, rotation 190 and 180, bright LED lights, network up to 6 machines. E16 tension system. This unique system ensures threads are fed smoothly and with automatic tension adjustments for the same perfect quality on every sew out. Embroider confidently, knowing each stitch out will be as beautiful as you envision. The Bernina E16. The stuff dream machines are made of.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with Kathy Doughty. She's from Australia, Sydney, Australia. And tell us again the name of your shop.
Material Obsession.
Obsession, right?
Exactly.
And if you go to Sydney, you don't want to miss seeing Kathy's shop. That'd be great. We were just having a conversation, just a brief moment before the cameras rolled, and you said something that really struck with me. You said, you know, I won a big prize once, but it was grateful. I was grateful for that because I don't make prize-winning quilts. That's not my purpose or my goal. Tell us a little bit more about that. Just explain that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that, well, for me, quilting is a very personal expression, and I want my quilts to be unique to me. I want people to be able to understand that I was the one that made those quilts and to relate them to my personality. So a few years ago, I entered a quilt into the Twisted Tradition category in our quilt show in Sydney, and I won first place, and I was overwhelmed by that. But more important than the prize was the fact that one of the women from the guild, who was well into her 80s, said to me afterwards, that was the perfect example of Twisted Tradition, and you won that justly, and I was really happy. Yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I love is that more of us are making quilts just because we love to make quilts. It's not about the competition or the prize, and that's what we're doing today. We're twisting tradition a little bit. Let's start with this block. This is very grassroots. Tell us about this.
Well, this is sort of a retrospective look at where Dresden plates or wedge quilts came from. I purposefully pieced it together using 1930s fabrics to be able to demonstrate how far you can go when you look at something that was originally done, you know, by our quilting sisters from the past, and now we want to make it look like our life today.
Sure. And this was the inspiration for a new quilt that you're working on, and that's what we're going to learn today, right?
Yeah, all of my wedge quilts spring from the traditional, so I think it's really interesting to look at using the same tool and updating it so that it reflects where we are now. I've got print on print, I've got graphic in the background, I've got a nice big polychromatic motif in the center.
But I need to talk about this because I don't feel Dresden plate from this. So give us a little bit of where that's coming from.
Well, all Dresden plates are a section of a circle. So if a circle is 360 degrees, whatever degree the wedge is determines how many different pieces. So this is 16 pieces because this is a 22.5 degree wedge.
So 22 and a half times 16 is 360, which makes a complete circle.
Right.
And this has been used to create.
Right. So this is just a piece of the circle, and if you use the whole wedge, you would get something that looked more like this one. But if you just use the outside edge of that, you get the great big hole in the middle, and then you can use that. Yeah.
Right. So the inspiration came from one thing, but boy, have you taken it to a different level.
I quite like big scale prints, so this suits me just fine to have a nice big circle for, by the way, my fabric.
Yay! All right, all right. So I'm going to put these to the side, and let's get busy working on how do you then make that block.
Okay. So when you're using a wedge, everything is based on the size of the strip that you want to use. So the first thing that we need to do is to cut a 3.5-inch strip because that's going to give us the size wedge that we need to do this block.
Okay.
Oh, it's stuck on the table.
Oh, you know what? It does slide like that sometimes.
Just trying to trip me up.
It is.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use my mat to measure my 3.5-inch strip. I'm going to use my ruler and line it up with the fold of the fabric.
Let me do something real quick. I'm going to flip it over simply because I want people to understand that's not going to help at all, is it?
We still got
Because
one.
we still got a grid. All right, but we're not using the grid, so let's go back.
We're going to ignore the lines on
Ignoring
the
the
mat
lines on the
because we
mat.
cut a lot and they sort of disintegrate and you can't always count on them to be accurate. So I'm going to establish a straight line and then bring in a second ruler, which is really quite handy, and count 1, 2, 3.5 inches and use the line on the ruler with my established straight edge so that I know that it's going to be on the grain, and I can see my ruler on the fold.
And
move that one away.
You butted it right up, and there you go, 3.5 inches.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So that's the goal here, is to cut 3.5-inch strips.
And then we're just going to do that one in our alternate print. So I'll repeat that again. So I use this method for cutting all of my, any size strip that I want. Like if you were using binding, you could measure 2.5 and keep moving across without actually moving the fabric.
Sure.
So now we have our 2 strips.
Now, in your main block that we're working on, they alternate back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
That's
There's
right.
2 fabrics going back and forth.
Right.
Okay?
And I purposefully looked at a dark strip and a light strip, one that had a medium-sized graphic and a small, so there's lots of bounce in this.
And this is your fabric, too.
And this is also
Yeah.
my fabric.
I love that.
So now I'm going to use the wedge. I'm going to make sure that I have the wide end at the top of the strip. And I'm just going to cut along the angle. And then to avoid that awkward cutting at yourself motion,
Right.
I'm going to bring in a second ruler.
Oh, that is a good tip right
Now,
there.
normally this is when the audience would say, ooh.
Well, listen to them. Listen to them. Ooh. See, yes, that's exactly
I was
what
waiting
they
for
do.
that. Okay, so now I've got my 2 shapes, and we're just going to sew them together with the narrow ends at the same end and
You
the
want me to
wide
do that
ends.
for you?
I would love you to do that.
So, and this is just a regular 1/4 inch seam now
It's a
because the
1/4
1/4 inch
seam.
seam has already been added onto that ruler. Is that correct?
And while you do that, I'm going to flip my wedge so that the wide end is now facing toward me. And cut it again.
And do you do these in pairs? And
you
then
do these in pairs, and the only thing that you need to make sure is that each time you sew those seams, that they're going to open up to be on the same side, right? So you want the dark on one side and the light on the other.
Oh, I see. So if I was to do that again, I would want to make sure that I sew on the correct thing so
Exactly.
that if it opens up, I don't suddenly open up and it goes, uh-oh.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
Okay, so that's the unit, and because we know that this is a 22.5-degree wedge, we're going to cut 16 different, or 8 pairs.
8 pairs.
Join 8 pairs until we have something that looks like what we
Is that
prepared earlier.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yep.
Yeah, we've already baked the cake, everybody.
So there we have the circle with the 8 pairs alternating all the way around. So the next thing that we're going to do is applique this onto the motif. And in order to prepare that, I just ran that through my Bernina at a 1/4 inch seam.
With just you're not sewing anything, you're just actually using thread as a marking tool.
Right, exactly. And I did it with a wide basting stitch. So I put it to
like a 3 or 4.5.
4.5, 5.
Wow.
It doesn't really,
Okay.
you want it to be easy to pick out because you don't want those
Oh, I
stitches
guess
to
that's
show.
too.
And it's just to, and really I only did that because I was coming on the show, because otherwise I would just flip it
You
down.
would just
and
flip
do
it down and
myself.
do it good a little more willy-nilly. Well, that's a good idea. I want to point out, like here, you didn't get it quite exactly turned under.
No, when I pressed it, it was a little bit, the stitches showed. So when I go to applique it down, I'll just snip those stitches out.
And I'm not, because it's not that big of a deal. It's just boom,
yeah,
they
it's
come
super easy.
away.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to point out a flaw. I'm pointing out if that happens to you, it's an easy fix, right?
Well, and the other thing was I did it on the outside because you're going to applique that onto the back, and then onto the background. So you need to have it on both sides.
Okay, so do you want to talk about your center theme fabric?
So I decided that I wanted to use this fabric, like we mentioned, because it's a big motif. So I pressed this into quarters because with the 16, it was quite easy to give myself some guidelines. So now I can just match up.
I'm going to rewind. Just move this out for 2 seconds because she did something that she's skipping over that I thought was like, wow. You pressed this in half. Yeah, we got that, okay? But you also pressed it in half into a 1/4, right? But then you pressed this and this to give us more creases. So you were trying to hide out on us.
So you've noticed the genius.
Yes, I have. Of course I have. Well, that's why you're on the show. There we go. All right,
Well, I think that's pretty important because I'm a self-taught quilter. So any tip that I can come up with that makes it easier for me to do it, I know that's going to appeal to somebody else who's out there struggling with how to make it match.
Sure. So now you're just using the seam lines.
Yeah, wherever there's a crease in the fabric, I know I can line up to the 1/4s and then the 8ths.
That's great. So that's just going to get pinned together, get basted together, however you want to do it, and then you're going to do your applique.
Well, I quite like these little applique pins, so I'll just run those around. And then I prefer to do the needle turn.
Okay, let's
look at that
slide
one.
this over because this is the block.
So that's really, I'm calling it needle turn, but really it's no different than sewing a binding down because there's already a folded edge. So it's a quite simple stitch all the way around the outside.
And if somebody wanted to do an invisible machine stitch,
Absolutely.
like
If
Alex
you're
was
more-
teaching some things at the top of the show,
If you're more comfortable on your machine, then by all means use an invisible thread and stitch that down. Or you could use a buttonhole stitch and a decorative thread if you wanted to.
All right. Now, do you then audition various backgrounds? I know what we're going to go to, but do you do that?
Absolutely.
You just try different
Absolutely,
things?
because quilting is all about establishing a line. You want to be able to see. So if I was to put this on a background and you couldn't see it, that would be a lot of wasted time. So I might try lots of different backgrounds. Now, my eye is more drawn to things that have lots of graphic interaction. I like a lot of print. So I've chosen, again, one of my plaids.
Yes, of course.
And use that as a background for that block. And I think that works really well.
It does look. Now, will you? Of course, this quilt's not finished yet. You're in the process of making the decisions, and we even talked at the top of your segment when we were doing show and tell. You work very intuitively,
right?
So you may or may not repeat this background fabric later.
That's right. Well, I selected these particular colors in this because my son asked me to make a quilt right before I left. I thought I don't have time to do that and this, so I'll combine those two projects.
Nice.
So I choose boy masculine colors, and just went from there.
So you'll make a lot of these blocks and make the quilt as big as you want. Let's talk about let's not talk about other fabric options. I want to talk about this trick that you use.
Yeah.
If you use this large scale print over and over in the quilt, and I don't want to, because I think it might fall apart. I'm going to let you take
One of the questions that you might have is how can you actually center that motif in each of the blocks? Because what we were getting at is I've made this block, so I'll put that up on my design wall, and then I'll figure out what I want to go around that block. I may do multiple blocks like this or piece it with some other kind of block. But when I started thinking, well, how will I get those birds in another block? I simply took a piece of freezer paper,
ironed it on,
and then I traced the motif through onto the paper. So now I can take this freezer paper and put it on another piece of fabric and repeat that process
again. Isn't that great? So you can see where the circle's going there, the leaves are going there, and then you've got the same design going to be positioned in the ring multiple times.
Right.
That's fabulous.
And if it's not exactly in the same spot, does that matter?
No.
But it's close
We've learned
enough.
that, yes. Now let's talk about the other fabrics for this particular quilt, because you may not want to make the block over and over and over with the same fabrics.
Well, and also, in a lot of my quilts, I tend to go all the way to the far end of the spectrum. And if you wanted to pull it back and make it more palatable for yourself, with something that was quieter, you may look at doing, say, an all-over even dot.
Yeah, let's lay that out.
Leave that one out. But what you'd want to do is take your pieced block and lay it on there to be sure that it's got the kind of contrast working that you want in your block.
Right, and you could do different wedges, and you can do different backgrounds.
Sure. So one option would be to repeat the same background in all the blocks and maybe do some sort of sashing around it. Or I may want to butt the blocks up against each other and pick some fabrics that are similar or in the same color palette so that they all look nice together.
Well, the message I'm getting from this whole thing is, first of all, and it's something I love, you find something that's maybe traditional, something that speaks to you, and you just bring it into this twisted, wonderful new thing, and you make it well, you do it well, but you make it without the fuss and without the worry.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm a very busy person. Anybody that knows me or follows me knows that I'm always on the go. So figuring out the quickest, most succinct way to make something, but still speak from the heart of the traditional quilter. I'm still in love with the people that gave us this craft, and I want to bring them to life.
But you also drove off the cliff. That's what you've done. And there's a dream that's related to that. Tell us about your dream.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that I remember a dream I had when I was 5 years old that I was riding my bike with my friends, and they were all going in one direction, and I just steered off, and the next thing I knew, I was in the clouds on my bike, pedaling as fast as I could, and looking down, excited and terrified at the same time.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So and so you're still taking that same journey.
Metaphorically.
Yeah, you're riding in the clouds, so to speak, right?
Yeah. Well, I just think it's kind of good to veer off to the right or left and try something new. Here he comes again.
Yeah, absolutely. Riding off into the clouds, off the cliff. Yeah, thank you, Justin. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Kathy. That was great. Now, you're not done with us.
I'm not done.
Alex taught us some applique at the top. I'm going to tell you that Kathy has some applique techniques coming up that you've probably not seen before. You don't want to miss this, so don't go anywhere. On the next quilt show, Miss Ebony Love from Love Bug Studios is dropping by to show you the possibilities with fabric dye cutting.
Think you know everything there is to know? Well, she says you might just be surprised.
You actually put the tip of the marker into the blade and just drag it along.
Okay.
And it will just appear.
Learn how to make the orange peel design 3 different ways.
Plus, they say diamonds are a girl's best friend, but Ebony shows you why diamonds and isosceles triangles may be your new besties.
Also, quilt historian Julie Silber returns with a whole new batch of antique quilts. And this bunch, she says, is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Lessons from the past and into the future. On the next quilt show, join us. It's my turn with Kathy. And Kathy, what you showed me during break, because we prepare the table, I have not seen before. And I know, right?
Yeah, it's surprising.
It's organic, finished applique. But before we get to that, I want to talk about Kay Fassett, because you obviously love his fabric like I do.
That's right. Cave came to Australia in 2006 when my shop, Material Obsession, was very new. And we took him to the beach just for a warm-up. And in the morning, I got up to go for a jog, and he said, "Can I come too?" And I was like, "You're kidding me. Of course you can."
Right.
So we went for this nice walk, and the whole time, he was pointing out the texture of the rocks and the shape of the waves and finding different color patterns. And I was so inspired by that. I was just sort of, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And we sort of hit it off really well.
Wow.
And yeah, it had a lifetime effect on me, because now every time I travel or anything that I do, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, what can I capture from this? What kind of color combination or pattern do I see? And it's a really good thing to keep your mind focused on that.
And isn't that wonderful that this just happened off the cuff and you weren't even expecting it?
Oh no, I was terrified to meet him. I thought, oh, he's very famous, and and I just I didn't let that stop me. I just started talking to him, and he was very generous and has continued to be quite a mentor to me throughout my career. So I'm very appreciative of that.
Expect the unexpected.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right. One of my swatch lessons.
Very good. So let's take a look at this particular piece here. It has Kayf in it. It's got your fabric, cotton and steel.
And then just a random plaid in the background. So in preparation for this, I thought, well, I want to take this project a little bit further than people might be comfortable with, just to see that you can still create shape and line when you're using a lot of different print. But we also looked at some other different background options that would calm it down if that was the maker's choice.
Yeah, but I mean, this is fun, right?
Oh, good. I'm glad you think so.
Yeah. But it could be scary for some people too.
That's right. Well, we're trying to get over the fear factor, because this isn't brain surgery. This is something we do to feel our spirit and feel excited and fun.
So what if you can't quite handle this? What would you do?
Well, you could tone it back. This is a Denise Schmidt plaid that I think would still hold up with applique on the top, but it's got a bit of texture. And when you're using a lot of pattern, it's good to keep the motion of the pattern up. Where you put a solid, that motion will stop. And then I also had this one. These were just pieces from my stash that were sort of big enough that I might have auditioned before going all the way into the deep end or off the cliff with the plaid.
So you do try different things, but you're like, not good enough for me, not good enough for me. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what about this bottom piece?
The bottom piece, well, that's one of my fabrics from the Horizons collection, and it's a little bit of a heavier piece, so it gives a base to the whole composition.
Okay.
Right, so I just picked that, and it was plaid on plaid, but they were so different that I thought there was a nice clean line. I think and you would know this because you do a lot of applique, there's so much preparation in applique, you want to be able to see the shapes that you're working with.
That's always a good idea, just saying. Always a good idea.
You don't want to finish the block and realize that it doesn't show.
Okay, so let's talk more about fabric and how you deal with it.
Okay, well, in preparing for this, I just brought a couple of the pieces that I used, but what I wanted to show was how I might select the fabric.
Okay.
So this is one of Kafe's current pieces.
I think I need that.
This? Oh, we all need this. You can do so much with it. And then I make what's called a viewing template. And all of the things that I'm showing you are things that I've learned in the shop from some of the fantastic applique people that I know. But here, where was I? Okay, so I would just make the shape that I wanted. In this case, it was the bell flower. And I would just place it over the fabric and start moving it around until I find something that's really interesting to my eye. And with this one, the obvious choice would be go straight smack in the center.
Exactly.
But if you move it down slightly, oh, bingo, now I see the little top of the flower and where the bottom of the flower might have that, and a little bit of shading in there. And once I see something like that and I get really excited, then I want to reproduce that to make the flower shapes.
Yeah, because it'll look like it's been pieced, but you're getting a bigger bang for your buck, right?
I'm letting the fabric do the work for me because I'm in a big hurry.
Okay. Okay. So then what do we do next? Because we love that.
Well, let's start with the vase shape because that's nice and simple.
Okay.
So I've decided that's how I want to do it. But with all of these, I mean, because one of the reasons why I have become fascinated with applique is in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, people used to laugh at my applique and say,
oh, that's not nice.
I know, but I didn't think that it would be for me. But as time went by, I thought, well, I've tried some different tools, and having the right equipment makes it a lot easier. So this is a paper, this is yours, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Print and Piece Fuse Light.
So I can use this as a base for my applique, which means that I can turn over my edges and have something to press against, so it makes the stitching really easy.
So I'm not kidding you guys, I have not seen this before, and it's cool.
Oh, good. So I think one of the other things is people are often afraid to show their hand in their work, or they think they need to run a pattern. So if you needed to do a pattern, you could trace this over a light box. But for me, I'm just going to draw that vase shape and pretend I'm in kindergarten, be completely uninhibited.
Isn't that fun?
Yep.
Yeah.
So now I've decided that's going to be my vase shape, and I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and cut out on the line.
So it's like hearts. When you draw a heart, you just have to
Exactly.
do half of it.
This is going to give me a nice symmetrical shape for the vase. And it's a really simple shape. If you felt really confident, you could add ruffles or more curves or whatever you like. So now I've got the window template.
You got a viewing template.
Yeah, I've got a viewing template that I could use to, and this fabric is geometric, so it doesn't really matter. But then what I would want to do is place my shape on the back of my fabric. But I don't want all of this thick paper on the inside.
Why not?
Well, because when I finish my project, it could, well, if I was adding layers, it might make it a bit thick.
Uh-oh, my segment was foiled. My first segment, because I leave it in. Okay, might try something new here. Okay.
Okay, so now I've just cut away a little 1/4 inch. And I'm going to put that down on the back of the fabric.
And there's a shiny side, and the shiny side is going to the fabric.
The shiny side is the glue, so that's going to go on the back of the fabric. And then I'm just going to iron that bit down.
That's a really great iron.
These irons are fantastic. I love having them on my cutting table so I don't have to get up and down all the time.
It's not behaving.
Okay, now it will.
Okay, cool.
Actually, maybe it went off.
Oh, well, that would do it.
Here.
But
It's
that's
on
okay,
now.
because you can just go to the next part, because you guys, this is just great.
So that's how simple it is. And then you just cut out with a scant 1/4 inch seam around the outside, and then you have your shape to place on the top. So you can just finger press the edge of the fabric over your paper and then applique it down.
So you are needle turning it with the aid of the paper.
Exactly. Because if I was to do that without the paper underneath, I would have wonky
Oh, it'd
lines.
be a
I might
mess.
have a
I'm
little
with you.
curve
It'd be
there.
a mess.
Well, and the other thing that you might notice is I've kept my shape super simple.
Okay.
Everything is either symmetrical in the vase or in the leaves, so that I don't have to worry about concave or convex curves. So I'm looking at my shape and seeing how I can modify it to make it really easy.
Okay, now what about the stems? Let's take a look at that, because these are crazy.
Yeah, well, part of the idea of the organic applique for me is that every piece is unique and it doesn't have to go in exactly the right spot.
Okay.
So if I make a mistake, no one will know.
Like that?
Yeah.
Take that tip home, everyone.
So I'm going to share with you a trick that I learned from Suzanne Cody, who's probably one of the most beautiful applique artists I've ever met. And
Is she in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, she teaches in my shop, and she designs some very popular patterns
Nice.
as well. So I've cut, this is what I've chosen for my stem fabric, and I like it because it's kind of green, but it has a little bit of graphic stripe energy. It's also one of mine.
Okay.
So this was actually a square. I cut it on the bias edge on the 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to spray it with a bit of either spray starch or best press, whatever you have handy.
It's wet.
Yeah, I want it to be wet because I want the edge to permanently fold over.
Okay.
So now I'm just going to start at the end nearest to me and fold over, and then come in from the outside of the fold and just press along that edge. So that's going to give me a finished.
Like your 1/4 inch or whatever?
Yeah. Well, depends on how narrow you want them to be, but when you first start out, just get it to fold over. This is very long.
How skinny can you go?
How skinny can you go?
If you're a pro.
Yeah. Well, if you could probably go to 1/8 of an inch.
Wow. Okay.
For that end. And so now I'm just going to take that. So you can see
Yeah, I
in
love
the
how it's
natural world,
wonky.
it's thicker at the base and skinnier at the top. So I'm going to fold that edge over on an angle.
Okay.
What angle doesn't matter. And I'm just going to press that again.
I'm loving this.
Yeah, making sure that the folded edge stays under.
Loving this.
Probably if I was at home, I would have pressed that a little bit harder so it stays.
So when somebody takes your class, do they do your pattern, or do you say, no, guess what, girlfriends, you're going to do it on your own? Girlfriends and boyfriends. you got to figure this out and go organic.
I think I would like to give you enough information that you could achieve a result that was individual to you, because you know, it's one thing to follow a pattern and to use someone else's idea, but if you can put your own hand, your own stamp on it, that's when you know you're a real quilter. And you know, you take everything in baby steps and do what you can do until you feel really confident. Or until you can do something and talk at the same time, which is a challenge.
A requirement for being being on this show.
So yeah, so that was a little bit of an awkward thing, but it's quite simple. And now you can see I've got 2 folded over edges. And the other important factor was that it was wrong side up, right?
And then you just trim out underneath?
And then I'm just going to take my scissors, or if I'm feeling really brazen, my rotary.
Sure.
And I'm going to open that back up and cut just on the outside.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is new to me.
Yeah, so I'm just going to keep cutting that.
I think I have to come to your store and hang out for a while.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
You could do the quilt show down under.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's fantastic. And look at this, everyone, how she stores it. That is just the best.
Well, you know, time at the ironing board. If I'm doing bias stems, I'll do a whole lot, so I have some left over, so that if I feel very impulsively that I want to put a stem in, I can just grab it off my spool. So there's one I made earlier.
I use a toilet paper roll to store mine on.
Well, then it probably doesn't have such a curve.
I don't know.
So once you get that done, you can just press in a little bit of a curve in there to position it on your block.
Okay, so let's talk about the, oh, hey, Ricky, come on up.
I love that.
Oh, did you?
Yes,
So,
that's fabulous.
I want to talk about the design of this, and then I want to get to her books because they are beautiful. So what do you have to think about when you're designing?
Well, I like to work in odd numbers. So I've got 3 different flowers. I've got 3 different leaves. I wanted,
Wait,
of
1, 2,
course.
3, 4, 5.
Oh, 5.
Yeah, right,
so
okay.
3 and then 5. I can't count.
Okay, that's
so
okay.
That's fine.
You count differently down under. I know. I've learned that.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that all my fabrics sit harmoniously together. I might have some warm and cool options. I want to have different scale. And I want it to show what it is, which is a vase of flowers. So, yeah, and then I also put that, like I said before, the dark bit on the bottom to give it a base. So,
base, yeah.
you know, you're thinking about technically how you're going to make it. You're thinking about your fabrics, initiating your imagination so that you actually get to the place you want to go with your applique, which would be a nice composition.
Well, let's brag about your books.
Okay.
Okay. Tell us about these books.
I've written 5 books. These are my latest 2, mixing quilt elements and adding layers. And I write my books from the perspective of the maker, so that if you look at the pattern and you like the whole quilt or you like a part of the quilt, I try to give you enough information that you can personalize your projects. And I try to have projects in the books that address the issues that my customers have in the shop. So if it's using stripes, or if it's using big scale, or modernizing a traditional project, most of that information should be in there.
Now let's talk about the photography in it, because it's just over the top.
Yeah.
Well, over the top of the mountain, which was where we discussed I met John. Yeah, my husband is the photographer, and if you think it's glamorous doing a photo shoot for quilt books, I can say maybe not. But it's nice because we personalize every project, and John has a great way of bringing the quilts to life. Oh, there he is.
Oh, and there's hey, John, and look, even kangaroos, because yes, because you have to.
Well, we live a long way away, so we realize there are a lot of quilters in the States that want to get the feeling of what it's like to live in Australia, what the colors of the landscape are like, and how we are inspired to bring that into our quilts.
Gorgeous books.
Thanks.
And
You're going to want those.
They're stash books with C&T.
That's right.
Absolutely. And many of the quilts, well, all of these quilts are in these books.
That's right.
And more, a lot more. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
you can explore, and you got more books on the way.
I'm currently editing a book right now.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes to your store and buys a book, you might just autograph it for them?
Absolutely, and it's only 10 minutes out of Sydney, so if you come on a cruise ship, we're right there.
Awesome.
Yeah, all right. We'll
Now
do
we're
it.
talking.
And that's the audience. Are you ready to go to Australia? Yeah, come on down. And you too. You can come to Australia with us. Thank you so much. What
Oh,
a
it's a
fun
pleasure.
day that
Wonderful,
we had.
wonderful.
Alex, thank you for the wonderful tips that we learned at the top of the
Great.
show. Everyone in the audience, thank you for joining us. Everyone at home, thank you as well. We hope that you have a wonderful week quilting. And remember, it's a new day every day.